Yo, what is up, my puffer people? And today I'm bringing you guys the next episode of VG Hot Takes. Before we get started, please consider liking the video and subscribing to my channel. It would help out a ton. And just a quick little note that this and then my next few videos aren't going to have any editing because I'm going on vacation soon. So I don't really have time to try to edit them and like start editing and stuff. But I'm hoping to be able to start actually editing the videos after I get back. So look forward to that. Anyway, so let's get into the video. Today, our VG hot take will be another Kingdom Hearts one. And it is that I think Terra is an incredible character. Not just like a good character. I think he's a great character. I love Terra. So, something I want to do first is kind of go over some of the common complaints I've seen about Terra and kind of just talk about why I think they're not great complaints or something along those lines. So for starters, a lot of people hate Terra because his gameplay isn't as smooth and great as Ventus and Aqua, which there's a few things I have to say about that. First of all, hating the character of Terra because of that is stupid. Like, yes, I agree his gameplay isn't perfect, and it's probably inferior to Aqua and Terra and Ventus, but that doesn't define his character. It's not his fault that when making Birth by Sleep, they designed him to where he was worse. Especially, like, they clearly designed the secret bosses with Aqua and Ventus in mind and not Terra. But that's not his fault. So I think it's unfair to complain that Terra's a bad character just because they didn't design the game properly around what they gave him, or they didn't design him properly around the game. Also, I personally have never really had a problem playing as Terra. I think he's fun. He's strong. He's slow, sure, but he's strong. That's the point of his character. And I think it comes across fine in the gameplay. Sure, could he use a little extra something, like how Ventus can glide, Aqua can double jump and stuff. Sure, he could use something. And sure, it sucks he doesn't have it. But that doesn't mean he's a bad character. I still have never really had problems playing with him. He always feels powerful, and people are like, oh, but beating Unknown is so hard with him. I beat it in 2 tries. That's not even cap. Like, 2-3 tries. It was the quickest I beat Unknown was with Terra. So, whatever y'all want to say, I did not struggle one bit beating Unknown with young Terra. Then the next complaint is, oh, he's so stupid. How does he not know Xehanort was evil? Let me give you a little hypothetical situation, right? Okay, so you were raised probably to respect your parents. Let's just say your father. You were raised to respect him, you know? So what if I were to now shave your father and make him talk like Keyblade? Would you now not would you just immediately assume he's a bad guy now because he's bald and freaking does his little finger thing and says Keyblade and stuff? No, you're not going to assume he's evil because you were raised your whole life told, okay, you have to respect this man. This is a good man. That's why Terra does not think Xehanort is evil, because Ericus raised him to respect masters like Xehanort, not to consider them evil because of stupid reason. And of course, we know Xehanort's evil because we are in the real world. We know the tropes. We know the stereotypes for evil characters in video games. Terra does not have that privilege. So actually, if Terra knew that Xehanort was evil, it would be stupid. That would be bad writing. Terra trusting Xehanort is good writing. Of course, he's in a vulnerable position, so of course he's going to trust the figure he was told to trust, who is actually supporting him. His basically dad, Ericus, didn't support him, so of course he's going to trust Xehanort, who actually shows at least a little bit of support. It only makes sense. So I think that's one of the worst complaints ever. And then I've seen a lot of people say, oh, he's gullible. He like is easily used by the villains throughout the game. So I do not think that's a fair complaint at all for a few reasons. First of all, you people eat up Riku's story. You guys are like, oh, Riku's my protagonist. He's the best character in Kingdom Hearts. Okay, and was he not gullible for trusting Maleficent and Ansem? Like, come on, bruh. Like, and that's not the only thing. Terra's gullible because Master Ericus made him insecure. His insecurities lead to him being gullible. Like, of course, should he have trusted Captain Hook? No. But at the end of the day, he only trusted Captain Hook because he was scared of the darkness because of Ericus. Ericus. It was not his fault. He was raised to fear darkness, and then Ericus basically accused him of being darkness incarnate. I don't know. But, like, that's such a stupid thing. Like, what? Of course he's going to be gullible. It only makes sense that he is gullible. I don't see a single reason that he wouldn't be gullible. Like, it makes sense for the story. And those are just kind of some of the common complaints about Terra. I'm sure there are other stuff people hate about him, but I'm kind of just now going to get into why I really love him. So for starters, I think that a big reason I love Terra is because he reminds me of Riku. Obviously, he's the Wayfinder Trio's version of Riku. But I love that he's a different take on Riku. So basically, in Kingdom Hearts 1, we see Riku given to the darkness because of kind of the hatred in his heart and how he gets kind of manipulated into hating Sora and being against Sora. With Terra, he gets manipulated into being in the darkness, but it's not, he never turns truly against his friend. Sure, he gets kind of mad at Aqua, which we'll get into, but at the end of the day, the reason he uses the darkness is to protect his friend. The reason he's pushed further and further is because he wants the strength to protect friends. A perfect example of this is when he fights Ericus. Now, you might be like, oh, but he literally helps in the murder of his master. Yes, because all he cares about is protecting Ventus. He sees that one of his best friends is about to be killed by someone he respects. His whole mind is racing. What do I do? All he knows is that he has to protect Ventus. And then Ericus is like, oh, you fall into the darkness. It looks like I have to kill you too. So of course he's going to fight Ericus because all he wants to do is protect Ventus. And now Ericus would rather kill him and Ventus than give in to reason. People say Terra is being like unreasonable and stuff, but if anything, it's Ericus. Terra's just protecting his friends. Who, like, and let's get back into the when he's like turned against Aqua. He really never dislikes Aqua, but you'd be hurt too. She was his other best friend, and he finds out that she basically doesn't trust him. She thinks he's giving into the darkness and is spying on him. That would hurt your feelings. Like, again, not to go to the meta comparison again. But if you found out that your best friend this whole time had been spying on you because they thought that you were actually evil and a bad person, you'd truly be hurt. I'd be hurt. I mean, you gotta be hurt. It's just, yeah, you'd be really hurt. So, of course, it's not Terra's fault he gives into the darkness. It's just he's protecting his friends, and even when his friends hurt him, he still loves them. And another thing is, I love Terra's relationship with Ventus. I talked about how, in my Aqua video, how I don't really buy Aqua's relationship with them. I totally buy Terra and Ventus's relationship. Like, when they have their little banter, it's not anything incredible, but it's definitely something I could see between, like, brothers. It's really, it's well done. And, like, the love Ventus has for Terra, you could tell Terra's clearly a great friend to Ventus because Ventus is chasing Terra. He really cares about Terra. That's what I love about Ventus and Terra's relationship. It adds a lot to the story, in my opinion, because I think it is legit, where Ventus respects Terra and Terra respects Ventus, and they really care about each other. Of course, let's get into a little, So Terra fails the Mark of Mastery exam at the beginning of the game, which I think was an interesting decision and a cool decision because it kind of pushes his whole story. I think it's really good that they did that because I think it's a cool way to kind of show this character is strong, but he has his flaws, which is what I hate about Aqua. Aqua feels like this flawless character who just... She's strong. She's pure. She is super light. Oh, yada yada yada. And in KH3, they begin to kind of explore more complexities. But since it's not her story, we don't get enough of it. Terra is a character who's arguably the most powerful of them physically, but he's also weak. He's very emotional. He gives into his emotion. He doesn't have control over them. But I love that about him, because he's passionate, he's emotional, and it's great. It's awesome seeing how he realistically has his weaknesses. It's fun seeing a flawed character, which is something we didn't really see too much before Birth by Sleep. We only really saw it with Riku, because if you look, Sora in KH1 and KH2 doesn't really have flaws. Same with Aqua, same with really Ventus. We see all these perfect characters, but Terra, he's a flawed man, which I love. I love to see. And it all culminates in him losing. He does lose at the end of Birth by Sleep, whatever you want to say. He loses. He wasn't strong enough to beat Xehanort. He was strong enough physically, but emotionally, he gave into the darkness and allowed Xehanort to take control of him. But that's where it becomes sick, because he may lose, but then that's where he shows his strength still, because his love for his friends allows his will to be so strong that it actually lives beyond him. His armor without his body takes form, and it's not his physical strength that does it, it's his love for his friends. His heart is that strong, and I think that's sick. That his friendship is quite literally his power. And you could say what you want, but his heart is so strong that his armor is able to take shape and fight Xehanort. And I love it. Xehanort is astounded. How? Your mind gave up or whatever. It's sick, dude. It's like, yo, Xehanort, you thought I was done? But nah, man, my armor is back. And that's... Come on, that is just so cool, dude. It's so cool, dude. The fact that his armor comes back to life just because his heart and his will was so strong. And that kind of gets into one of my favorite parts about Terra. At the end of the day, Terra is a character who, while flawed, is always a good man. And I kind of think we see that with how his heart is that strong. Because even though he makes mistakes throughout Birth by Sleep, we see that his heart is always in the right place. He always wants to help people. Kind of like Sora, kind of like Riku. He does always want to help people. And it's beautiful. He might be an idiot at times and mess literally everything up, quite literally spurring on the complete villain of the whole story. But, you know, at the end of the day, we see throughout the story in Olympus, he's just trying to help people. And think about it in Neverland. Sure, he might fight against Peter Pan, but it's not because he's evil. It's because he thinks that Peter Pan is bad. He's at the end of the day trying to do a good thing. And when he realizes he's wrong, he helps Pan. He even gives the Lost Boys the idea to put their treasured items into the treasure chest. He's a good guy. Look back to Cinderella. he helps Cinderella for no real reason. He just helps her because he's a good man. And even in the worlds where he doesn't do great stuff, like Sleeping Beauty, he never means to do bad. He's just being used by villains. Because at the end of the day, again, his heart is strong, but his mind sometimes is conflicted, and sometimes he makes mistakes. But the flaws of Terra are what's beautiful. I don't want a perfect character. I want a flawed character. Also, Terra may just be the strongest character in Kingdom Hearts. Just saying. Anyway, but that's for a future video. But that kind of takes us to the secret ending, where we see Terra in Xehanort, and Xehanort talking kind of in his heart, I think. We see Terra has learned from his mistakes, and Ericus, I believe, is in his heart, who is in his heart. He's learned that he has to be patient. He can't just give in to his anger and hatred. Because even though he does hate Xehanort, he knows that the only way to win against Xehanort is he has to be calm and he has to be patient. He learns from his mistakes. Xehanort might have beaten him, but it also taught him to be a better person, and we see at the end of Birth by Sleep, he's hopeful because he's learned his lesson. He knows that he's a better person, and he knows that he will save his best friends. It's only a matter of time. And that leads us to point 2, Birth by Sleep, where again, he's kind of broken, because again, he knows he made a mistake. And we see one of my favorite scene in that whole thing, when Xehanort's tricking him, and then we just see Terra come, and he's like, Aqua, I messed up. He messed up, but he's strong enough to fight against Xehanort, still, who's taking control of his body, but his heart is still fighting back enough to help Aqua and prevent her from giving away Ventus's location. It's awesome to see that he's still fighting. And then Kingdom Hearts 3. Oh, I loved Kingdom Hearts 3. We see Terranort constantly, not constantly, but manipulating them as soon as they get to the Keyblade Graveyard, beating them all up. So it's so sad to see Terra's body being used. But then we get to the Terra fight, and as you beat Terranort, you see him fighting the strength of his heart. He's trying so hard, but it's not really in his control. But he's trying so hard. And we see that his friends are in danger. And then the scene, the Guardian that we've known since KH1, boom, flies and saves Aqua and Ven. And it rips off the bandage, and it's revealed to be Terra the whole time. And it's the most amazing thing ever, dude. It's like such a cool reveal that this Guardian, who goes all the way back to KH1, is actually Terra, and he saves his friend. And Xehanort's just like, how? Your heart fell to the darkness. And he just says the line, it's so cool. And he gets his heart back, and it's a legitimately emotional reunion, dude. Like, I loved all the reunions in 3, but I love this one specifically because we see Terra come full circle. He finally was able to defeat the darkness in his heart and take back control from Xehanort. He's reunited with his friends. And this leads us to the end of KH3, where Aqua, she thinks Terra still has this hatred in his heart. But it's not. The reason he confronts Xehanort is because he knows they've won, and he wants Xehanort to give up. He finally reveals that Ericus has been in his heart the whole time with him. And you could say what you want, but it's clear Ericus taught Terra or rubbed off on Terra when he was in his heart. Because we see Terra's become a more patient, a more light man, a man who exists in the light. And we see that Ericus, through Terra, is able to convince Xehanort to stop, not using violence, but using his heart. And even Ericus reveals how he made a grave mistake, I think, with all of them, and apologizes to them and tells Terra to take care of them. Because while Terra may have messed up, Terra is he's Ericus' son at the end of the day. Ericus loves him because he knows that Terra messed up. But Terra's also this strong man who has so much potential, and he knows Terra has grown. And it's beautiful to see. I love it. We even see when he interacts with Riku in the DLC. It's not much, but we see them have their little moment. Oh, can we talk about how he gave Riku the Keyblade? Like, come on. Riku exists as a Keyblade wielder because of Terra. Like, you could say, Xehanort wouldn't have done anything if it weren't for Terra. Well, guess what? We wouldn't have Sora or Riku if it weren't for Terra. Because Riku had the Keyblade, which only went to Sora, because Riku fell to the darkness. Anyway, I digress. It was a really fun scene seeing Terra and Riku interact. So, to recap, I think Terra is one of the best characters in Kingdom Hearts, and I think he's definitely top, 3 deepest characters, because he's not a perfect man. He's a heavily flawed man, and all he wants is to protect his friends. He messes up along the way. He does make mistakes, but at the end of the day, he really does love his friends, and he truly does just want to protect the light. He has his insecurities because people like Aqua and Ericus make him fear the darkness inside him. But those insecurities only push him further towards the darkness. At the end of the day, the darkness isn't who he is. The light is, and we see when he becomes Lingering Will, all he cares about at that point is protecting his friend. That's what Lingering Will is. His will, his perseverance to protect those he loves. Terra is a man whose heart might be clouded with darkness, but at the end of the day, it's got just as much light as Sora. And I think that's beautiful. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. I think that we got a little deep this episode. I'm actually proud of this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. Again, please consider liking and subscribing. More videos to come. I think I'm very proud of the videos I've been making. I hope you guys enjoyed. And until next time, my puffer people, stay puff.